I'm joined today by Max Kaupp-Roberts, who is 23 years old and began a career in the City of London, only to abandon it. I'm here to talk to him about how the Brexit vote has affected his peer group here in the middle of London's financial centre. Max, when you decided to leave a career in the city, what was your main motivation at the time for moving on?
Really, the main thing for me was I didn't find the work really interesting enough for me to want to pursue it in the long term.
Do you think, talking to your friends who are still in the city, that this decision to leave the EU will affect whether they stay in their jobs?
The worries, I think, are kind of twofold. One is whether or not the job will even be there. So there's worry that banks may be moving positions over to Frankfurt, to Paris, Dublin, potentially. So there's the question of whether their job will even remain in London at all. And then the second thing is whether or not London will remain being a city where they can live in the way they want to, not needing a visa and being able to settle there and plan their life for the long term. And the other being whether or not London will lose some of its dynamism in place that makes it exciting to live. So whether if the economy starts to go downhill in the UK potentially, whether or not that will have negative repercussions on their quality of life here in London.
And do you think that these benefits that you and your peer group here in London see of EU membership, the freedom to travel abroad to study, the freedom to work abroad, the freedom to work alongside other EU nationals in your former office, do you think that sort of perception is shared by young people across the UK or not?
It's very hard for me to judge that. I think ultimately when you're in London, you work among so many people from all over the world who come here. And you know so many people who have moved abroad as well, that those benefits are very apparent to you, right? They're really obvious. You know plenty of people who work in Germany, who work in Spain, in France, wherever. And many of your friends will also be French or German or Spanish or Greek or wherever. So it's very clear that there are these tangible benefits and opportunities that you can take. A lot of people have studied abroad as well, maybe if they had a semester abroad or a term abroad through the Erasmus program. I think if you were living in a more marginalised community, maybe in more deprived parts of the country, then you may not know anybody who's been able to take advantage of the benefits. You may not even conceive of that as a possibility for you, and then it's easy to see why you might not see the benefits of EU membership in the same way as someone in London.
In your very interesting piece that you wrote for the FT in May, you quoted a Deloitte study which said that a really significant proportion of millennials were already thinking that they wouldn't stay in their job beyond 2 years, and certainly very few of them thinking they would stay beyond 5 years. Yeah. Do you think the Brexit vote will change that sort of time horizon and that sort of loyalty to their job that they're in?
I think it's probably going to even more accelerate the sort of shorter term horizon that people would be looking at. Most of my peers at the time, and as was kind of proven in the study as well, were very much thinking of leaving their job within the next few years. I think now with the Brexit situation as well, a lot of people who thought they might stay in London, maybe move to another job or within London, are now more and more considering whether or not they'll have to go back to their family home originally and kind of make a career for themselves there.
Max, thank you very much for being with us today and sharing your insights into how your generation sees this great Brexit decision. It's great to have a captive millennial on the FT sofa.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.